if computerized cognitive training is very beneficial in a private school setting as well as public school setting, it might be a more cost-effective intervention that could be utilized to improve cognitive abilities associated with academic success. On top of that, again, with computerized cognitive training, I also look at social and emotional learning. So I'm really trying to get into that. So I'm looking at motivation and self-efficacy. I'm also looking at whether or not the value of a task could help determine the kind of benefits that a child is getting from this specific intervention we are utilizing. So that is a little bit about me. And I'll go ahead and let my cohorts speak as well.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to see you all here. My name is Marbella, and I am also a second-year graduate student in the MACD program. My research, or the research field that I'm interested in, is related to adolescence and parenting. So it's more related to specifically how parents use guidance or discipline with their adolescents, more so psychological control and autonomy support. So I'm hoping to do a project related to all of these factors. And I'll pass it on to David.
Hello, I'm David. I'm second year as well. What am I studying? Probably general, because I'm not taking the thesis. I'm not writing a thesis. I'm not writing a project. I'm taking the comps. And reason for that, my background is actually in education. I have a bachelor's in education instead of child development. And I just like seeing or enjoy learning about the education and the development component of kids.
Great, thank you so much for those introductions. I'm going to start asking you questions. Me, Andres, and Angelique are going to be asking the questions. So the first question right now is, what got you interested in child development, in the child development master's program? So what sparked your interest to pursue a child development degree in the master's program?
Okay, I'm assuming we're going in the same order. My ultimate goal is actually to go into a doctorate program for school psychology. I love the assessment process. I love, working with kids and advocating for them and really making sure they get the resources they need. And so a lot of people ask me, why didn't I just do school psychology right off of, my bachelor's degree? And the reasoning I did that was because I graduated with a psychology degree, and I realized that I knew a lot about psychology, but not enough about child development. And if I was going to work with children and I was going to, try to decide what is going to be the best resources for them, what's going to be the best plan for them, I felt like I needed to be able to equip myself with as much knowledge on child development as possible before I made those decisions. Because, these plans are huge and they really kind of carry throughout the child's entire life. And I really wanted to be able to set them up for success and not just do it because I like, writing papers and crunching numbers and all that kind of stuff. So even though I love what school psychology is, I wanted to be able to best service the child as much as possible. So that's why I went into the master's for child development. It was more for career development. I wanted to be the best school psychologist I could be for the students. So that is for me.
My experience was a bit different than Emily's. I consider or will consider my master's degree to be my terminal degree. So that's where my education will end. But as an undergraduate, I just really wanted to go to grad school. And I thought, okay, well, what do I like? What did I enjoy most as an undergraduate? So I realized that I really liked learning about children and families and parenting, and the psych classes that talked about this information were the ones that stuck with me the most. So I was like, okay, child development it is. And so I found this program and I was really happy that it was within CSUSB. And that's kind of how I made up my mind, considering that it was my biggest interest and I couldn't see myself doing anything else. So I didn't like industrial or organizational psychology. I didn't want to do therapy, and I didn't want to just do research. So basically my likes and interests led me here.
I think it's my turn. This actually, as well, is my jumping off point. I've been teaching for 17 years, and it's like I just wanted to get a master's in something that was not necessarily education, but education related. And where I'm living, CSUSB is the closest that at the time was in person. And then last year hit. And but yeah, I've enjoyed being here.
Great, thank you so much. Right now, I'm going to introduce Sam. Sam is also a child development panelist that we invited here today. Sam, if you could please introduce yourself with your year, your research that you're currently doing, please.
Hi, everyone. Sorry for joining a bit late. So I'm Sam, and I'm in the Masters of Child Development program as well. And my research, I tend to focus on aspects, I think, closer to academic achievement as well, similar to Emily's kind of realm of research. And I'm focusing more on aspects of resiliency and how problem solving as a factor can help in improving academic achievement. So as a protective factor, so as a resilience factor. So that's kind of where I explore. I explore a lot in like how that could also affect mental health as well. So that's a bit about the realm that I'm in. And then were you guys on the first question of what kind of got you interested in the program?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if any of you feel this way, but when I graduated with my BA, I was still very unsure of where I wanted to take this. I didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. I graduated and I thought, okay, I know I need to pursue further. So I wanted to stay within, I graduated with a human development degree. So I wanted to stay within the field. And I knew that I liked the program here. I liked the professors that I had been working with when I was an undergrad here at CSUSB. So I wanted to stick with that and kind of explore it a little bit further because I still was not sure. And I think in being in this program, I wanted to utilize it as a way to explore and figure out what is it about this that is kind of going to be my niche. And so as I've kind of moved through the program, I've moved towards the side of school psych. And so through exploration and through the classes that I was taking and kind of being in touch with the right professors to kind of spark my interest in, okay, so this is what I've liked about it this whole time. This is the aspect that I liked. And I think that's where you gain it more so is working with the right professors and kind of getting a feel for how the different avenues that you can take, because our field is so broad. It doesn't feel that way at times. It's child development, you work with children. Well, that's not it. There's so much more.
Thank you. Our next question is, what do you aim to pursue if your child development degree, and what made you land on this specific career goal?
Okay, so what made me aim to pursue a child development master's program? I feel like I kind of touched it already. I wanted to be, the best possible, the best possible school psychologist I could be to the students and be able to serve them to the best of my capabilities. And honestly, it wasn't, now that Sam kind of mentioned it, like it was the faculty that made me realize that too, because I didn't realize how much I did not know about child development until before I got into child development. And now so many things cleared up. And I'm just kind of like, wow, I never thought about this beforehand. And now I think about it now. And I'm kind of like, I knew nothing back then. Like I know so much more now. I don't think I know everything. Absolutely not. Like I'm always learning. But I'm happy with my development for sure. And then another thing is, so let me see. I want to pursue being a school psychologist, but not just any school psychologist. This is the difference between going down the PhD route, which is what I'm trying to do, and just stopping at a master's. So if you stop at a master's, you are kind of confined to a school setting and a school setting only. So you are also confined usually to specific assessments. And I don't necessarily agree that those assessments that we're confined to is the best representation for every child that's in a school system. For example, bilingual children, some of these assessments that are provided by, school districts they don't accurately reflect where they're actually at or what kind of resources they need, because a lot of these assessments are a little biased towards people that are bilingual or multilingual. And like I even in my classes, or now that I'm in the assessment process and helping out with it, today I start to realize, like, as a bilingual child kind of growing up, or, my brother being a bilingual child, I would not understand a lot of these words that are in these assessments. And because of that, I feel like it really does kind of skew what the scores are being shown. So because of that, I knew that I needed to go a little bit higher, and I needed to get a PhD, because you have a lot more leniency, a lot more opportunities to just than just the ones that are confined to in specific school districts. So for example, let's say a child got assessed and you see that the parents don't agree with the results, right? The school psychologist that is, with the school district is confined with these certain assessments, and the parents don't agree with the results. What they can do is they could basically hire like an independent school psychologist to come in, reevaluate it with assessments that they think will be best fitted for the student. And then basically, there's a reevaluation, and you'll be able to see it a lot more. It's kind of like finding a needle in a haystack. You'll be able to kind of go through it in more detail in comparison to if you're confined with only the assessments you're provided. So that's kind of what led me down my career path. Again, you don't have to go down the PhD route, but if you want more independence, if you want to work in a hospital setting, in a school setting, if you even want to have like your own private practice or anything like that, the PhD route is the way to go. If you just are kind of confined with just in a school, and you're also confined with specific assessments that are provided to you that the school is buying. So that is why I wanted to pursue the master's, also to gain more information about child development, but as a stepping stone for a PhD program. And then what made me land with this career goal, I love advocating for students. I love, I think, knowledge and education is really power. It could really uplift a family. It could uplift a generation. And I think because of that, it's important that everyone has an equal opportunity to be able to attain it. And with that being said, I am like fighting tooth and nail for, to make sure that like anyone that needs help is able to receive everything they can and that they need in order for it to be an even playing field for everybody. So that's huge. I'm huge on like educational equity and all that kind of stuff. That's it. Marbella.
Great response, Emily. I love your passion for your field, honestly. But my aim with getting my master's degree in child development was that I wanted to be able to teach at a community college or be an adjunct at like a university. And then I also wanted to become a director of a child care center. And I believe you can become a director. You just need to be licensed. You don't need a master's degree. But I really wanted to make sure that I had that education to back up what I wanted to teach parents, what I wanted to teach children, and just provide them with maybe that security that I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. I've studied this, and give them some comfort, and then share information that I've learned within the program. So it was really, that was my goal in mind, to really be able to help parents feel comfortable leaving their children with me, and also know how to incorporate best practices with children. So that was my goal for getting the master's degree in child development. And then I also was what was the second part of the question? Oh, what led me to this career goal? I think it was the idea that I come from the Coachella Valley. I don't know if any of you all know where that is, but in that valley, there is a intense need for childcare. And I want to contribute to that. I want to create a good center where children can trust to leave. I mean, parents can trust to leave their children with me and just have that high quality care. So that was my goal, to take everything that I learned and bring it back home to support my community.
Sam, I'll defer to you. And then I'll follow you.
Okay, thanks, David. All right, so kind of bouncing a little bit off Emily's, I kind of went in again not knowing what I wanted to do. So I utilized the program as a stepping stone to figure out what I wanted to do and what avenue of the field I enjoyed. And it kind of stemmed from the jobs that I was already a part of. So I'm a tutor for children that are in the foster care system. So I work one-on-one with children in their homes or wherever they may be. And then I was also a quality assessor for different child care programs that are in San Bernardino County, and we're one of the biggest counties in the nation. And so the money is spread pretty thin. So I want to be that kind of outreach for those that kind of don't have a voice. And I feel like in trying to help children in that one-on-one way, try and, again, as Emily was saying, just for those that need the most help and get them the right assistance that they need, whatever that may be in terms of academic help or other things that you may see along the way. And so that's kind of where I was already leaning towards this one-on-one community outreach experience within the field. And then after exploring more and then working with Dr. Wong as part of the BFAST program and actually going out and being able to do these assessments and realizing how helpful they can be and how they're being utilized in a more practical way, that's what led me to pursue this even further and use my master's within this program as a jumping off point to pursue child psych after, and utilizing the information that I'm gaining here to, as Emily was saying, understand more about the children that you're helping. And if you don't understand them well enough, then how are you able to help them most effectively when performing assessments or working with them one-on-one?
Awesome. I love the passion and the commitment to helping
right,
students
so
and helping
if you're ready,
children.
David.
Sorry, my Wi-Fi is cutting in and out. So I want to actually take my master's and teach and college as well. I've been, like I said, I've been teaching for 17 years. I love education. I want to teach teachers, those that are going into education, to incorporate human development and child development into it. It's lacking, especially at the secondary level. And so if they get some sort of insight about it, that's going to be a win. Land on this goal, I've always wanted to teach at the community college, and this is the best route.
Okay, great. Thank you for answering that question. I love the commitment and the passion for helping students and advocating for students. Our next question is, since the child development recently became its own department during this last year, do you have any advice for students who are interested in conducting research or connecting with faculty that's related to child development, especially like during these times of COVID where it's hard to connect with faculty? Do you have any advice regarding that?
Yeah, I definitely sympathize with everyone that has only had like an online learning experience since starting CSUSB. It was a lot easier, I feel like, when it was in person, because like I just took a class, I loved it, and I bugged the professor until he let me on his lab. And that's really how I got on. Like I would show up every single day during his office hours. And eventually he was like, okay, I guess. And I've been there ever since. But I think for now, the best thing everyone can do is to, number one, probably go onto the child development or whatever type of website that you're interested in joining, some type of research lab, whether that's psychology or child development. Go onto the website, look at the faculty list, and a lot of their, names, if you click on it, they have a description of what their research interests are. And then I know so many people that have taken that route instead of, being the annoying student that shows up all the time. They actually like looked it up and like looked at their interests. And then after they, kind of made a list of everyone that they liked, they shot them an email. And basically, I wouldn't say like, hey, let me join your research lab. I would say, can we set up a meeting? So I would set up a meeting with them. And then once you set up a meeting with them, talk to them, like tell them your goals, tell them what you want to do, with your career, tell them your interests, let them know like, hey, I know you have a research lab. If you ever need help, I am very interested. And, just kind of let them do that. Another thing I would also say is, you could even take classes that are like similar to your research interests. Like for example, the one that I took was actually, I didn't even know that was my interest back then. I thought I wanted to be a like forensic psychologist, like every other psychology major wanted to be. But I realized I didn't like that. So at that point I was like, whatever. But you can take like classes that align with your research interests. And usually the ones teaching those are in some type of research that aligns with the subject they are teaching, especially if it's like a tenure track professor. So then you could just keep talking to them, keep asking them questions, and then just kind of say like, if there's any research that like you need help on, like nudge, nudge, I'm here. And they'll be more than happy to help you. All the professors here are super approachable. So definitely don't be scared.
Yeah, I agree with a lot that Emily has said. I think Sam and Emily know more about the research component, but definitely reaching out to the professors is important. I'm sure they're all passionate about what they're researching, so I'm also sure that they love to talk about it. So just like emailing them or being like, oh, what's your research about? Why are you interested in this? And so you can kind of get that conversation flowing, and then you can sort of like input yourself in there and be like, oh, if you're ever looking for a research assistant, I would love to be a part of your team. And somehow that's how you can get your foot into the door. So yeah, networking is key. So emailing the professors, if you can find their emails, if you have taken a class with a professor, just talking about their research with them, and maybe going to their office hours as well. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
I think I can take it. So for me, it was a little bit different in that I didn't explore into research until I was in the program, which I encourage everyone. I wish I would have gotten more involved in research, like get involved in as early as possible. But for me, being a more low-income student, I was more into okay, what experience and what like connections can I make with professors that also pay a little as well. So definitely explore the jobs on campus. There are lots of jobs and opportunities available on campus to get that face time and that experience with the faculty and the professors here that will offer funding as well. So for me, when opportunities came to work for the Infant and Toddler Lab and the centers on campus, I was very involved in them. I applied as soon as I could when I had the course requirements, of course. And so I worked closely with Dr. Wilcox because she is the head of that sector. And then I worked with a lot of the directors within that program as well. So Deanna and Heather and all of the people at the Children's Center as well. So that got me so much more face time with those professors, as well as those who are also in the master's program as well. So I was getting in touch with those who are within the program that I'm currently in now and learning more about that too. So it just got me so much more FaceTime, but also in a way that didn't, 1 second. No, you're good, you're good. Sorry, everyone, I'm outside. It's unpredictable. So just anything that allows you FaceTime it by any means. And like I said, if you can get into research, do that as soon as possible as well, because I encourage it. I wish I would have gotten more involved in research sooner, but I also was concerned about paychecks as well, unfortunately. So I just try to dabble as much as I could on campus, off campus as well. So that would be my advice. And then Manpreet has a note as well. Please follow up if you don't hear back. Yep, just keep bugging, keep pushing a bit.
Exactly. Sorry, I don't mean to, I didn't mean to like cut in here, but I think I just wanted to jump in. As a first gen student, I was always so worried about like, oh my gosh, I don't want to bug people. I was the students who I get these emails now. Sorry for the late email or sorry for the follow-up email, because I was so concerned about bugging people. But now that I'm on the other end of things, I need the nudges, because at the end of the day, sometimes it's just that there's 2,000 emails coming in and I just don't get to it and I lose it. And email is a monster for me right now. So please follow up, because a lot of times, like y'all have said, the reason we teach at Cal State is because we want to hang out with students. We would be at a non-teaching institution if we didn't want to be with students. It's just sometimes just the nudges help, in my personal opinion.
I agree. I'm keep asking my students, bug me as much as possible. Like, I'm here, I'm ready to read your emails and answer your questions. Bug. It's encouraged.
I came from a different background because I was not a bachelor. I did not get my bachelor's here. And I took a while to get back to my master's program. And honestly, talk to your advisors. That's the best advice I could give you, because that they know more about it, especially if you're not familiar with the site or not familiar with the school. They know each other. They know what they're working on, and they'll give you the advice and they'll pass you to the right person. And also email. I mean, email doesn't hurt anybody. You may choose to ignore it.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next question now. So do you have any resources that you would recommend to students? So any resources maybe that got you to where you are now? So internships, work experiences, things like that?
Yeah, the number one thing I feel like helped, because the number one thing that helped me out was the honors program for psychology. I call that like PhD grad program 101. Like, Dr. Campbell is amazing, and she sets out, you know, all the resources you possibly need in this world in order to feel like you understand like the graduate application process, whether that's PhD or a master's. So I feel like if you have the chance, and you know there are certain requirements needed in order to get accepted, but if you can, do it. I am a huge person, as you could tell probably when I took an additional 2 to 3 years for my master's program for professional development. I also spent an extra year as an undergrad because I really wanted to do departmental honors. And I was like, you know, what's one more year in my life? Like, I'm young, right? So I added a whole entire year in my undergrad experience because I'm so sorry. You probably hear my dog. Again, like, unpredictable. But I extended a whole entire year because, like, although my family, like I have family that graduated, you know, with a master's and stuff, a PhD is like a whole different ball game, like applying for PhD programs and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't really have any direction for that. So I joined this and recommendation by Dr. Wong, who was, you know, I would also say number 2, faculty is your best resource. So like, just like, you know, Dr. Wong kind of like set me in the path for departmental honors. Like, faculty is your best resource. I always say I have two sets of mentors. Like, I have my life mentors, which are also faculty on campus, and my like research, like school mentors. And they help me like kind of balance my life out. Like, if I'm maybe focusing too much on like being, application crazy and applying everybody, like everywhere, anywhere that will accept me at that point, my life mentor will kind of step in and be like, wait, but will you be happy there? So, she really helps me. They really help me balance my priorities out. So I would also say faculty, the honors society, departmental honors that we have on campus. And I'm hoping that maybe they have a separate one for child development or something. That would be really cool. And then the third one is also getting a job on campus. Like Sam mentioned earlier, I worked in the writing lab for 2 years. And although, it helped me, you have to be a strong writer to kind of be a writing tutor, but it definitely helped me become an even stronger writer because I constantly worked with papers, specifically 3311 papers all the time. And like, I constantly like help students, like, get an A and all that kind of stuff. But not just that, but the coworkers I had were amazing. Like, if I didn't have an answer to a question for like some like specific program or application process, they usually knew because they were either graduate students or they were also in process of writing their own applications, or they were already in a master's program. So I would say getting a job, joining the honors if you can, and then faculty, always lean on those.
Yeah, I agree. You definitely need community involvement, I think is one of the biggest things. So in my experiences, I worked at a writing center as well on campus, but at the Palm Desert campus. And then I also was the president of the Palm Desert Psychology Club. So those were like my two main experiences as an undergrad. And then I know a lot of people in like previous cohorts or current cohorts have experience with children, of course, with like nannying children or jobs related to children, because of course this is a child development program. So I think really just focusing on your community experiences and being involved within the school, just things to add to your curriculum vitae, really.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. You don't know where your interests are going to lie unless you have that experience and you know what you just know how it works and everything that's going on. So again, the things that I've mentioned that I was a part of was Infants and Toddler Lab. So I have a special place for the very young age. The infants and toddlers, they're like, that's the area that I like. That's the age range that I like, that I enjoy being around. But also I worked at the children's center. I interned there and was a lab student as well. So getting that face time with the children really helped me kind of solidify, okay, is this something that I enjoy? And then also with jobs such as like my tutoring job, which there's even that opportunity exists on campus as well with Dr. Wong. He has another program where he you provide tutoring for children that are in the foster care system or homeless. And that kind of helped me realize that I enjoy the one-on-one experience preferably, and also gave me more face time with different age ranges. So I was working with children that were from 3rd grade all the way into 8th grade, and also gave me some experience being in front of a classroom and working with large groups of children, which made me realize I don't necessarily like that. I don't like that large group experience. That as going in, I thought I was going to pursue a teaching career, and that led me to believe I don't necessarily enjoy that realm. But also there's opportunities on campus such as Quality Start, which is the assessment program, or the assessment program that I'm also a part of, that gave me more face time and actually seeing different childcare centers and how they vary so greatly between the quality of the classroom as well as the staff there and the children that you're going to see as well, and how different it's going to look from one side of the community to the other. And I wouldn't necessarily have that experience have not been in that program. So again, all of these things exist on campus. And if these are things that you sound interesting at all, I can provide some information. I don't know that I can do it quickly provide some links as quickly as everyone else is, but Quality Start that's run by Dr. Wilcox as well, and she's the head of that, and we're always looking for people for this as well. And we take undergrads. It's preferred if you are within the are still attending class as well. It works with your schedule, and I think that's what's great about applying for these jobs that are on campus as well. Is they know you're a student and they're willing to work with your schedule and work around all of the things that you're doing, because they know your plate is filled, so they want to accommodate you as much as they can. So definitely encourage if you want to work with children and want to work within the classroom in the childcare setting, apply for the ITLS or childcare center if you're comfortable with that. I do realize we're in different times than when I was doing this, so things are going to be a little bit different, but if you have those interests, maybe explore that and see if that's something that you're comfortable with. I do want to make those considerations. Things are different, but there's always opportunities, especially on campus.
I actually have to defer to all three of them because, again, not from this area, not from the school, not from the department. So if you want to talk about education, we'll talk about something different. But yeah, I'm going to defer to them.
Thank you so much. So now on to the next question. So what specific steps did you take to prepare for graduate applications? For those of you who do want to go into a PhD program, do you now feel prepared, and why, if you do?
Manpreet, did you want to say something?
Emily, you know me too well.
Yeah.
I just wanted to sponsor David actually for the question Angelique just asked, because I think this is where your experience, David, comes really handy. Because I think sometimes we think we have to do grad school right away, especially, right? Like folks that are like, oh, I'm in school, gotta keep going. But we don't have to do that, because the experience you bring actually make you a really good student, because you don't need to stay here to do the exploration. You've already done the exploration in your career, and you're coming here to do your master's to go the next step in your career. So I would love for you to share resources that helped you teach in alternative environments. So I wanted to sponsor you for that, because I think those are some opportunities that we don't know about. I didn't know about. I know students often don't know about that. You don't have to just teach in a K through 12 environment. You can also teach in these alternative environments. So I just wanted to sponsor you for that really quick.
Okay. Yeah, I went back to the traditional class this year. Again, I taught for 17 years. 10 of them are in traditional. Then I went to a charter school, independent study, and that was a very unique situation where we were their last stop before they dropped out of school. And again, I get that people have different lives, and not a traditional school is not for everyone, and it's what fits best for them. And it's a matter of just getting in there and trying it. I don't know if this was the answer or how you wanted me to answer this one. Sorry, I'm outside too.
That was it, David. I just wanted to say, like, sometimes we can have real life experiences that can help us find our path, and grad school doesn't have to be that option right away. So David was talking about like doing this independent study program. So going different routes, like you've had so many different experiences that's gotten you to a place where you've decided, now I want a master's so I can teach at a community college level.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I know Manpreet wants to speak because she like unmutes herself a little bit or like turns on her camera. So that's kind of why I kind of picked up on it. Alrighty, so back to the question. So what steps did I take to prepare myself for the graduate application? So the psych honors program was huge, and I saw Manpreet say that they're working on a child development one, which is amazing. I feel like it could cater more to towards what you guys want to do, but that really helped me out because it already kind of places you with a mentor. You're already kind of doing research. If that's your first dabble into research, you figure out whether or not you like it. Because I know a lot of people that went in and they're like, maybe this is not for me. And they found like a new kind of like direction to go in that worked best for them. So I would say that definitely helped prepare me for it. Not just that, but it looks good on your CV. Just like anything else that you need for like, grad school, you need a high GPA. I was just able to maintain my GPA. And that is, like sometimes GPA doesn't dictate whether or not you get in. Sometimes if you have, in comparison to your cohort, maybe you feel like your GPA is not the strongest. You could definitely supplement that with a lot of experience. But I also acknowledge that like experience is important. So I also did, I created a lot of outreach projects. For example, like I created Positive Minds where I would go into like low socioeconomic schools and I would teach them the art of meditation and the importance of, stress and test anxiety. Not the importance of it, but like the importance to acknowledge it. And then also I was an ISA for faculty on campus, so instructional student assistant. I was also a research advisor for faculty on campus. I also created like my own, I'm also like very involved in politics and I advocate for, certain movements that I'm very passionate for. So on top of that, I also kind of help with the help of mentors as well, kind of have symposiums that I speak on and I kind of like to bring awareness to certain movements and kind of where they're at currently and so on. So I do a lot of that work. Basically, in the end, I said yes to anything anyone provided me with. Of course, realize your limits. And if you feel like it's too much and it's overwhelming, say no. But at that point in time, it wasn't. So I said yes to everything. And I talked to anyone that was willing to listen. Like, that's my biggest thing. Like, I talk to anyone that's willing to listen. And that kind of gets me to my next part, which is letters of recommendation are huge. Huge, especially if you feel like you don't have the strongest GPA. I know letters of recommendation could really pull you through. And the way you get that is by talking to anyone that's willing to listen and building that relationship with them. So those would be I think I said 4 points. Yeah, 4 points that I would say help me out a lot. Oh, also, am I prepared? Do I feel prepared for a PhD program? I feel like that's a trick question. I don't ever feel prepared enough for a PhD program. Like I'm currently working on a manuscript. I have presented at a lot of conferences. Oh, I think a lot, but some people have had more. But like in my head, it's a lot, right? I've presented at conferences and I've been very involved in research. So I'm hoping I'm prepared. Like I feel a little more confident definitely than I did as an undergrad, that's for sure. But like, I feel like any person that's applying for a PhD program, you're like, what else can I do? Because it's a little nerve-wracking, I would say.
My first step for applying to the grad program was to actually take a year off, because as an undergraduate, I felt like I wouldn't be able to mentally prepare myself in time to actually apply and have a successful application. So I decided to take that year off. So no shame. There should never be shame for taking time off. If you feel like you have to, go ahead and do that, because if you have an end goal in mind, you're going to reach that end goal no matter what. So I took that year off, and in that year, I took time to get organized. I reached out to my professors for letters of recommendation. I like to remind them, I'm still here, I'm interested, remember me. I wrote my personal statement. I got experiences for my curriculum vitae. So I had like a short-time job where I did ABA for a while to add that to my curriculum vitae. I just really spent time preparing for the application season, searched which programs I wanted to apply to, and just really built up that foundation there so that I could have like a successful application. So I think that main step is just taking that time that you think is necessary.
I also took a year off, so I can't advocate for that enough. If you feel that it's something that you need to do, then I would definitely recommend it. Burnout is very real, and I don't know how far I'd be had I not taken it, just considering my personal situation. So if you feel that that's something that you need to do, I definitely recommend that as well. And as Marbella did, I used that time that year to build things and add things to my resume and my CV to ensure that I had enough to be considered. And also in that time, I knew that the end goal was to pursue a master's program. So do your research. It takes a lot of research and a lot of filtering through to figure out, okay, which program do I want to do? And then understanding the dates and requirements that are necessary so that you're not blindsided when the time for applying actually comes, which can feel kind of scary when you're approaching something and, oh my gosh, I don't have this thing that I could have been working on had I only looked at the applications and the requirements that are necessary, and kind of doing that ahead of time to know what you need. And that's something that I haven't looked into PhD programs yet thus far, but I know that's something that my fiance kind of went through when pursuing his PhD. He had to do a bunch of research on the different programs in which was going to work best for him, and then understanding all of the dates and the requirements that were going to go into that ahead of time. So definitely do a lot of research beforehand. I know someone had a question in regard to letters of recommendation. So having a lot of FaceTime with the professors beforehand is really important. So not just saying, hey, I took your class maybe 2 years ago. Could you send me a letter of recommendation? That's probably not how you want to go about it. Maybe remind them a little bit about who you are, maybe do it a little bit sooner so the gap between isn't so big. I know for me, I stayed in touch with some of my professors because I was still working within programs that they were under. So I looked to Dr. Wilcox for sure and made sure that when I sent the email that it was more of like a reminder of like, hey, it's me, basically, like all of the things that we did together and things like that. So exactly. So remember that to keep those connections very much alive, as Manpreet put in the chat, so that it's not just a sudden thing, because you want the recommendation to be good as well. You want them to have enough good things to say about you. So making sure that you have some FaceTime if you need to. I wasn't always the best at this, I admit, but if you can, go to office hours. Connect a face to the name and ensure, okay, they know who I am and they know that I'm working hard, and when the time comes and you need that letter of recommendation, they'd be able to place you. Sorry, I'm choking a little. It might depend on the program, but I don't see why advisors couldn't offer letters of recommendation as well. All right, I'm gonna choking a little, so I'm gonna send it over to David.
Okay. I took time off, needless to say. And I would say my biggest issue was the recommendation, because again, they needed someone for my bachelor's, which was 16 years ago. So it was kind of a challenge to, but build the resume up. And for me, this program was an all or nothing. I'm either going to Cal State because it's closest, it's what I wanted, or I'm just not going. So I don't recommend that, but it is what it is. Do I plan? Let's see, for those that want to go PhD, I'm not going, I'm done. I enjoy learning, but I also enjoy teaching, and I don't necessarily want to teach at or spend the rest of my time on working on my PhD.
Perfect. Thank you so much for all that wonderful advice. Honestly, this is such an amazing event, and I believe a lot of people have gotten such amazing advice. I see that we're running up against the wall right now for time. So I would just leave you all with one final question. Please keep it to around 1 or 2 sentences if possible. And that question is there one thing that you wish you knew before entering the program? We can start with whoever.
I'll go. What exactly is the comp? That's, and how does that work? That's what I would want to know.
Go ahead. Okay. I would have liked to know like how, definitely know how much work it was going to be beforehand. It's a lot of work, and I knew it was going to be hard and a lot of work, but I guess not as much as it has been thus far. It's a really rewarding experience, but definitely a lot of work and big commitment.
I know I previously said I used to say yes to everything. I don't anymore. The workload is insane, and balancing work-life balance has been very difficult for me. So I would say learning your limits is huge before you start your grad program. So kind of learn where you draw the line and learn how to say no nicely, of course.
Yeah, I think like everyone else, just learning about like the actual workload, like how intense it was or it would be, and just having that information beforehand would have been helpful. Of course, it wouldn't have changed my mind. I still would have done it, but just learning that before, it just be a little bit like, okay, let me mentally prepare ahead of time.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you for everybody for attending our event today. And we'll make sure to definitely post up the video link. And if it's okay with all you panelists, could we share your contact information in case anybody has 1 or 2 follow-up questions? Perfect. Thank you. Well, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their evening and take care. Bye.
Well, real quick,
Thank you.
how do we log in to get our credits?
Oh, so I'm going to post a link in the chat for you to use a Qualtrics link. Let me just find it. It's somewhere up here. And for those of you who are attending for extra credit, please make sure to fill that out. Here it is.
It's
Right.
in the chat right now. I just entered it.
Perfect. Thank you, Annabelle.
Yes,
Right,
and thank you so much for everybody for coming to our first event, and thank you for our amazing panelists for sharing your knowledge and resources and advice to all students. You were very helpful, and we're going to be sure to post our session on the YouTube page as well as your contact information. Thank you so much again for all your help, and we appreciate you. And thank you, and have a nice rest of your night.